Peace and thank you for stepping into the Foul Playland. As always, I'm your Foul Player. I wanted to talk about this recent string of events that happened over the weekend by Gary Russell Jr. If some of you may be aware to the situations that have gone down over the weekend or not, Gary Russell Jr. bumped into Leo Santa Cruz's pops. Fuck. Pardon me. And he put his shoulder around him and was picking at like his jewelry and basically, and then after the fact, took it upon himself to call out Leo Santa Cruz. In addition to that, there were also two interviews that were posted up by Fred on Barbershop Conversations, and please subscribe to him. In one of them, he doing a few call outs, and then in the following video, it's more of a sit down conversation in which he's talking about the landscape, a little bit of the boxing game, as far as these promoters knowing his potential and knowing what he could do to these other boxers out there. He also took it upon himself to call out Tank Davis. Santa Cruz called him out again more within that sit-down interview with Fred. He did this all in one weekend. And sure, there's not much going on this weekend besides the Angulo Peter Quillen fight. And there's the weekend leading up to the Errol Spence Porter match this coming weekend. But with just a few well-placed interviews and a really well-placed call out in seeing Leo Santa Cruz's dad and using that as an opportunity to call out his son, Gary Russell took over the boxing conversation in one weekend, and kudos to him. That was a power move, and I think a lot of other boxers should take note. It's one of the most frustrating things, particularly with the welterweights, and in the lighter divisions too, and all over boxing, when you have to decipher what a call out is, or a boxer says that he's ready for all the smoke, and then they back down off of that with certain when it relates to certain fighters. I don't want to hear through all that stuff, man. Gary Russell Jr., yeah, sure, he could be fighting a little bit more. But supposedly there's an issue as far as his hands go, where he suffers from having hand injuries and doesn't want to take bullshit fights unless he has to. So that's why you don't see his output as much as I would like, sure. But he's been very adamant, as I've seen, of calling fighters out. He's only lost to Vasyl Lomachenko, and according to him, he was using a fucked up weight in his camp, and when he got to the scales a couple days prior to, on a different scale, he saw that he was 5 pounds overweight. So he had to weight drain himself unnaturally, and that ultimately led to him being gassed when it came time to fight Lomachenko. But he took that loss, he ate it, and he called out Lomachenko right after that too. He said he wanted to fight Lomachenko again. There's not that many dudes that call out Lomachenko, period. He's called out Lomachenko. He's called out Leo Santa Cruz a bunch of times. He's calling out Tank Davis. I like that shit. you know, when you have these other fucking standard call outs that are happening nowadays that are Vegas shit, you know, or that, you know, you put a little call out fucking once fucking every 2 years, and you know, you keep the hardcore boxing fans like something to chew on for a couple of years, but you know, nobody gives a shit. Like a Leo said, like the way he Gary Russell just did his thing, like, you know, even a non-boxing fan would take note, because it's like disrespectful. That's great, that's fantastic. That makes, and like people may not even know Gary Russell Jr. or Leo Santa Cruz, and it like would take note of that. That's like real world star worthy fucking and that'll rivet up interest in a fight, and that'll put pressure on Leo Santa Cruz. We need that shit. Like fucking all this shit, like fucking Charlo supposedly calling out Canelo. Charlo don't call out fucking Canelo. I know he may want that fight. He may be getting some step aside money in some back channel, or what was getting step aside money on some back channel, and then the WBC pretty much plays Charlo and gives Canelo the distinction of being a fucking whatever championship they gave him, and made Charlo their regular champ or whatever. Fucking but Charlo ain't gonna end up fighting Canelo. It's almost impossible that I see a match being made by Charlo and Canelo. You know, and that a lot of that happens because you're not riveting up no fucking pressure on Canelo. You know, then I think of Errol Spence and Bud Crawford having a fight. Like, do I think they're scared of each other? No, but neither one of them cats is fucking going out of their way and calling out the other. I don't give a shit about what your character is like, or like fucking what your personality is like. Oh, well, like neither one, like well, Errol's not that kind of dude to be calling out this guy, or Bud Crawford is more reserved and he don't like to. Fuck that, bro. Like fucking, if you want to, like, I mean, like that like you're I'm not like, that's the best way of fucking making a fight happen on the cheap, man. Like fucking, like, what does it cost you to go book a flight to a motherfucker's press conference, or to fucking sit down in an interview with anybody and just rip into the person that you want to fight? Gary Russell probably spent $200 to get a flight somewhere fucking on a week that he's not even fighting, and fucking turn the boxing world upside down. We need more of that. Like this whole like being vague and like fucking, oh, I want to unify, or I want to, like, that's pussy shit. Like the only people that are fucking calling out boxes and masks like that are fucking Wilder. And I mean, like, now Gary Russell has joined the fray, and Gary Russell's name ain't even popping like that. Now it is. Like fucking now, like, motherfuckers got to take note. You know, and he did that for free. I mean, he just situated himself by fucking taking aim at these fighters, and we need more of that. And like fucking no matter what, like that's gonna ratchet interest into a fight. You know, that's gonna create an instant rivalry. You know, before, like fucking Leo Santa Cruz's bitch ass could have said, oh, like, you know, he's not a money guy. But now, like, he made it personal. Like, that's fantastic. And Leo Santa Cruz has been a bitch. Like, Leo Santa Cruz been avoiding, like, fucking real action. And it's not like he's fucking... Leo Santa Cruz already taken a loss, man. Like, you know, it's not like he's being built up for this fucking mega fight. Like, his only mega fights are, like, fucking... maybe with Tank. I don't even think he's gonna fight Tank. Like, fucking... But they'll probably run out a fucking Mares fight with Leo Santa Cruz again. You know, like, who wants to see that shit? Like fucking but now he, you know, either he fucking answers the call with fucking Gary Russell, or look even like a bigger bitch. Like, so he, like, you give him credit. He's Gary Russell helped raise your popularity too, fucking Leo Santa Cruz, by that call out. So let's see what you do now. But I want to see more of that, man. Like, fucking Charlo, if in my eyes, bro, if Charlo don't make it his business to call out Canelo, which he hasn't, like, no vague bullshit, like, oh, I'm ready to fight anybody, is not a real call out to me. I'm sorry, it's not. Like, and I like Charlo. I think Charlo would beat the shit out. I think both Charlos would beat Canelo, frankly. If it were at 160, I think both of them could either meet him at 160 or move up to 160 and beat Canelo. But that, like, fucking, and it's not like these motherfuckers are like some fucking some songbirds or like shy. Like, every time I see the Charlos, motherfuckers are acting like dicks, barking at somebody, fucking like, fucking, like, looking at at fucking Andre and barking on him, like, fucking yo, like, do that shit to Canelo, man. Like, fucking, and Canelo ain't shit either, man. It's not like I'm some Canelo fan, bro. Like, fucking Canelo's like one of the biggest duckers on the low, like, fucking in my eyes. But these dudes, I think they're stifling their own ability to take boxing to the next level, one, but also for them to get paid. Besides that, I mean, like, without Charlo fight, with Charlo not fighting Canelo, I mean, will probably equate to Charlo being, like, at most making $15 million in his career. I mean, that ain't nothing to sneeze at, but shit. The fuck, I'm in the midst of Times Square, fucking, which is actually sort of a shortcut on the low at night, fucking, because most people try to avoid it, but traffic moves somewhat smooth out here. But yeah, Charlo fucking calling out Canelo or staying on his neck, really staying on his neck, and making it his business to fucking make it seem like Canelo doesn't want to fight him. I mean, it would lift his profile, bro. Like, Canelo ain't shit, man. Like, fucking, I mean, like, he's the money man in boxing at this current juncture. But I mean, anybody could overtake him by making a move or two. Tyson Fury ain't shit, and he could overtake Canelo. Like, Deontay Wilder will overtake Canelo in a few years. Like, as far as being the money man. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like this dude's like fucking leaps and bounds better than anybody else. And you could, I think with a lot of these fighters, they could reach those heights by fucking, by just letting it be known. Like, if you think you're that dude, like, if you think you're the number one guy in your division, like, and you could clear out your division, like, shit, like, go ahead, like, fucking go for it, man. Like, fucking with Crawford and Errol Spence too, man. Like, fucking, I give neither one of them dudes credit, like, fucking or like, I think that this guy is fucking one of the most embarrassing things that in recent history, like, was when those dudes bumped into each other at that matchup. And they confronted each other, because people would saying, oh, well, fucking, during that little thing, like, you could tell that Bud was being, like, well, Errol Spence was being more cool, and fucking, and Bud was talking louder, or fucking, and then some people that were more pro Crawford, like, were pro, people were trying to, like, people who liked one fighter or the other were trying to give credit and read through that little bullshit fucking running that they had, like, in the back channels of an arena. Like, I don't want to be fucking deciphering none of this shit. I could give two shits. Did they go into blows, like, fucking in the back of that arena? No. Like, fucking did they do anything worthy of, like, fucking disrespect? Like, oh yeah, he, like, Errol Spence checked Bud's man. Like, I don't give a fuck, bro. Like, fucking that's between them, Bud's man and fucking Errol Spence. Like, he ain't fucking, like, should have said some shit about his kids or some shit, bro. I don't give a fuck. Like, make it happen. Like, fucking Should have mushed him. If it's gonna make it happen, then he gotta fight you, bro. Like fucking, then you'll make it to like fucking every media outlet, fucking in TMZ Sports or fucking World Star. Like I'm not saying like that's gonna equate to fucking or you gotta aim every move to end up there. But fuck it. Like I mean, you want the fight so bad, or you're supposedly not scared of a motherfucker, then make it happen, bro. Like fucking give me some fucking bullshit to talk about. Like fucking but anyways, that's all for me now, man. Like fucking your boy Gary Russell Jr. on the low took over the boxing landscape this weekend, man. And it probably cost him a fucking commercial flight on JetBlue to go to wherever the fuck he saw Leo Santa Cruz's pops. And put the pressure on Leo Santa Cruz, man. Good for him. And I think other fighters should take note. That's all for me, man. Like fucking shout out to the real, man. Like fucking, and with that I'm out. Peace.